New details on a series of bizarre attacks. Dozens of unexplained illnesses, including head injuries, forced the U.S. to bring home diplomatic staff from China and the U.S. Embassy in Cuba. Speculation at the time was that it was some sort of sonic attack. But now the scientist who led the investigation tells the New York Times the main culprit is likely some kind of microwave weapon. CNN's Patrick Ottman is following the story from Havana. So, Patrick, what happened at the U.S. Embassy that led authorities to suspect that it was indeed an attack? And now we're talking about these, a microwave weapon.
It's still very much a diplomatic mystery, but let me walk you through what is a very complicated case. It all began November 2016, right after the U.S. presidential election, and that is when U.S. diplomats based here in Havana said they begin to experience these really strange symptoms, often at night, sometimes while they're in bed, asleep in their homes or their hotel rooms here in Cuba, and they said that they would feel nausea, hear loud sounds, hearing loss, but if they got up out of bed, if they left the room where they were in, it would stop. If they walked back into where they had felt this incident, this attack as they described it, it would start again. So they felt that they were being targeted with some sort of mysterious beam of energy. Initially, they complained to Cuban authorities about what they felt they were being targeted with sonic weapons, and these are weapons that do exist, usually used for crowd control. But experts consulted by CNN at the time, said that sonic weapons really don't work like that. They don't usually cause someone to hear a noise, and they're much too large to be used in this capacity. Now we have scientists that have met and helped treat some of those diplomats, coming out and saying that perhaps it's a microwave weapon. This is also a weapon, but much more portable, that shoots a beam of energy, and it can be pinpointed in the way these diplomats described both here in Cuba and in China, and that it can actually cause people to think they're hearing sounds, but this is just a symptom of this beam of energy that's being directed at people, and it can cause these kinds of symptoms. One of the researchers told CNN it causes concussion without actually causing a concussion, the immaculate concussion, they said. So again, we don't know very little bit about these weapons because so few countries use them. Cuban authorities say there is no evidence, though, that the diplomats were ever targeted here. They have called on the U.S. to release more information about this. So right now, it may be one piece of still a very big puzzle, Fred.
It is mysterious, but, there are a couple things from that reporting, that there is some place of blame, or at least looking seriously at Russia. And then the other is, it's not just a very disturbing high-pitched noise, but there might even be voices or a message, a continual message that people have been victimized by, this sound, that, there's this kind of messaging coming from it. What more do we know about that, or who is adding any credence to that?
Yeah, there are a number of... It's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
There are a number of countries, including the former Soviet Union and now Russia, that have microwave weapon programs going back decades. There's some evidence that they've been used in other countries against U.S. diplomats, that this was a very active program the USSR had. Again, still no evidence that they were used here, hard evidence they're used in Cuba, but it seems to fit the scenario. Now, the Cuban officials here said we would never allow this to be used, but of course, in a country like Cuba, it's impossible to imagine that a third actor could come in and use these weapons without the Cuban officials knowing. They have allowed the FBI to come in. They have allowed Canadian investigators, because there's some Canadian diplomats that have complained of similar symptoms, and they've turned up nothing. But in a way, you read about these weapons and these weapons programs that did exist, and it's kind of the perfect weapon because it leaves no trace.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of That Gang Stalking Show. My name is Doug. I'm a TI, and I've been one since 2004. This makes the 15th year for me being a targeted individual. Today's program is about remote neural monitoring. Now, I've done a lot of research on this, but I have not found anything conclusive in my research that adequately describes what this is. I will say that I think there's a possibility I've been affected by it, but I have no proof of it. Since I have no proof of it, I'm not going to get into anything that I think. Well, there's things that have happened that I think are associated with it, but I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to go there. But I will say this. I do hear sometimes up to 4 frequencies in my ears. But with that said, I also have tinnitus, naturally occurring tinnitus. And I've had it ever since I've been about 20, 21. Have a history of playing loud guitars, loud Marshall amplifiers, been to at least 50 concerts, the Texas Jam several times. I've seen a lot of bands live in concerts, get up close front to the stage. I've ruined my hearing, I can tell you that. I've shot a lot of guns without hearing protection. And I know for a fact, as a result, I do have hearing loss from that because I've had my hearing tested and also have tinnitus as a result of that. But I also think that there is something else going on in my ears, especially my left ear. I can't hear what I hear in my right ear. I only hear it in my left ear. When I plug both ears up, it all seems to be here. What I hear is sometimes up to 4 separate things. And I don't recall this in my younger years. I recall just one low tss every once in a while. Now I hear a hiss, and then maybe an octave higher or several octaves higher, a whistle, and then sometimes another frequency that oscillates, that goes in between the hiss and the whistle, that goes, it goes up and down. It doesn't stay at the same frequency. Then last but least, I hear what sounds to me to sound like an old typewriter. When the type keys used to hit the paper, you could hear the paper go tat 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 tat. You hear these little tat tats. Now, from what I know about microwave hearing, it's always been described as clicks. These don't sound like clicks to me. They sound like little, something kind of like, but very, very less loud than that. A lot less volume. And if I plug both ears, everything seems to come from here, in my left ear. I'm asking you people, the people out there that complain of the same thing, who believe it's RNM, do you hear it just in your left ear? I'm going to play the devil's advocate again. I know for a fact I have a hole, or I had a hole in my eardrum because a doctor saw it. I was complaining about, hearing loss and everything else, and the doctor took a look and he goes, "You got a hole in your eardrum." And I probably had that as a result of loud music or firing weapons without hearing aid, or without muffling the sound, hearing protection. So everything really is pointing to hearing loss related to tinnitus and not associated with remote neural monitoring, or RNM. I don't like to jump down the rabbit hole on anything related to targeting. I just don't like to do that. A lot of people just They go down that rabbit hole, and that's all they talk about. And I don't like to go there, because I'm one of these people that see things more than just black and white, or more than just two sides to a coin. Two sides to a coin. Really? Are there just two sides to a coin? If you look at this coin, there's not only this side and this side, there's also this side. All those indentions. So I try to look at everything from every possible angle and come up with every rational, logical deduction to come up with an answer. And if I can't come up with an answer, I don't have an answer. You get a lot of people with these targeting videos, and they have got an answer for everything. They know why this is happening, they know how it's happening, and everything else. But the bottom line is, you can't prove anything, and I can't prove anything. But there is a there. This program is very real. Doesn't have anything to do with alien reptilian shapeshifters or Rh negative factor blood. And I just want to address that real quick. This whole thing about Rh negative factor blood. Why would somebody target you because you got a different blood type? That holds about as much water as saying they target me because I have a poodle. If every targeted individual in the world owned poodles, and that's poodles exclusively, we could probably deduce rationally that they're targeting us because we have poodles. It makes no sense. But I'm not talking about Rh negative, and I'm not talking about alien reptilian shapeshifters. I just get tired of the nonsense that is associated with targeting. I know that it's real. You know that it's real. This is 99.9% psychological harassment. It's all based in psychology. But getting back to remote neural monitoring, I hear this hiss, I hear a frequency, and then I hear an oscillating sometimes, and then I hear the tat, 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 tat. Now, I'm not going to ascribe this to remote neural monitoring, but what I hear is something to the extent of this. And I was researching the Cuban embassy attacks, where the Canadian and U.S. diplomats were being targeted by a sonic device, and this came from a link on a news report. Here's what they hear. I don't know how well you can hear that, but I'm going to play that again in the video. You'll hear a video clip of this, and you'll see the actual video. It'll follow right after this. That's exactly what I heard. Now, weeks before this, when I was researching the possibility that I'm suffering from, the tinnitus, the nausea, and all that kind of stuff, I kind of thought, well, maybe I am. Maybe it could be. I don't know. I started playing with tone frequency generators. You can Google this, and if you have a pen and paper, write down tone frequency generator. You can find them online on Google. I was trying to find the frequency of the tone that I hear in my ear, and I never could really approximate it exactly. But when I heard that frequency that I just played, I'm like, that's it. That's right on the money. And that is the same frequency that the other Canadian and U.S. diplomats heard from that sonic attack in Cuba. And I found that just totally astonishing, that exactly what they hear is exactly what I hear. Because I have heard a lot of YouTube videos and audio clips of varying types of tinnitus. And tinnitus can vary from one person to the next person. It's really not the same for anybody, really. And when I heard that video, that audio clip, I'm like, that's it. Because I was playing with a tone frequency generator. And I played with it for at least an hour trying to find that tone that I hear in my ear. This is an online tone generator. It's playing at 440 hertz. This is an A. If you're a musician, this is what you tune up your A string to. You can play with it. To try to find that tone. Now, that tone that I played for you earlier, I researched it, I played it, and then I opened up the tone frequency generator to find out what megahertz is coming at. And it's coming at 7.0 to 7.1 megahertz. So it's roughly, this is the same tone as the one that I just played you. And that was just really mind-boggling for me. Now, if you're trying to find that frequency, play with the tone frequency generator and see what you hear. And if it's something different, post it in the comment section of this video. But if it's right on the money, that same video that I played just a moment ago, if this tone right here, I gotta shut this down. If this tone right here is what you hear, this one right here, if that's what you hear, that's what I hear. And if everybody says that's what I hear, I want to hear about that. I want you to say, hey Doug, that is exactly what I hear. Because this is what the US and Canadian diplomats are reporting that they hear. And like I just said a minute ago, tinnitus varies from each person to each person. A lot of people get tinnitus. You shoot a weapon without hearing protection, you go to rock concerts, play music loud. Typically, everybody hears something different as far as ringing in their ears. And I just described a while ago, I normally hear at least 2 tones, sometimes 3 tones, with one oscillating. It never stays the same frequency. And then I hear the tet, 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 tet. Now on this, there is no tapping. I can't hear any tapping in that. But I hear tapping every single time that I concentrate and I listen to this. Now another thing I want to discuss about remote neuromonitoring is, and this really got me really interested in this, is the fact that a lot of people complain about nausea associated with this. I do have a lot of nausea. As a matter of fact, I have so much nausea from time to time that I take Dramamine, which is an over-the-counter medication to treat motion sickness and nausea. I've had it for days and days and days, and there's days when it goes away. Today I'm not having any. But when I do have it, I just take the Dramamine. Now, if you're suffering from nausea a lot and you don't know what to do about it, take Dramamine. You can take 1 or 2 tablets, 50 to 100 milligrams, every 4 to 6 hours to treat your nausea. I never have nausea to the point that I throw up, but I have nausea. I'm like, I just feel queasy today. So I had that, and then I read a lot about remote neuromonitoring, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, and nausea associated with V2K, remote neuromonitoring, psychotronic weapons, and all that. Now, I can't say for a fact that I have nausea as a result of any of these things. Once again, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. I've had cancer in the past. 1966, I had cancer, and for 1 month, I was radiated with cobalt radiation in my abdomen area, and cobalt radiation with chemotherapy, and it caused a lot of scarring on my intestinal tract. And I've had periods of nausea off and on all throughout my life. So for me to go, oh, I've got nausea because I'm a targeted individual is absolute BS. I'm not going to go there. I don't know that. But I do know that I have a lot of it. But once again, if you're having nausea, take Dramamine. Also, if you're having problems sleeping, take Dramamine. If you don't want to take Dramamine, take 2 Benadryl. And take some melatonin with that. It'll help you to sleep. I know there's a lot of people complaining that you can't sleep because of RNM or V2K or whatever. Those things will help you out. You don't need a prescription for that. But check with your doctor before you take anything, okay? Let's get to the next point. None of this is scripted out, but I'm going to tell you that I have been looking for descriptions of remote neural monitoring, and I just can't find an accurate description of anything. No accurate description of remote neural monitoring. I read a lot about patents and everything else describing something to the effect of what RNM can do. I found something with the Ascension Glossary, which is basically a type of wiki, and this seems to be a website managed by someone who delves into conspiracy type things. And at first I wanted to take this with word for word, but there's reference to aliens on here, and as soon as you start talking about aliens, I'm like, I'm gone. I'm not buying into that. But before this whole gang stalking targeted thing happened with me, I was not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in the flat earth theory. I don't believe in any conspiracies. On top of that, had this not happened to me, I wouldn't believe a word that any other targeted individual had to say. Period. None. I probably would believe if I delved off into the Stasi, the tactics that the Stasi used, which was psychological warfare. If I delved off into all the psychological aspects and studied those. But see, most targeted individuals don't describe what's happening to them as psychological torture. It's always, I'm being stalked, I'm being followed, I'm being harassed. And I understand because there's a myriad of symptoms, a myriad of different ways to be targeted, and it's very difficult to come up with a generic description of gang stalking. I'm still trying to come up with that myself, and it's pretty difficult. But it all boils down to basically to Pavlov, I cannot say it, Pavlovian, there it is, Pavlovian classical conditioning. If you know anything about Pavlov, he was a psychologist, and he theorized that, well, I can't remember exactly what he theorized, but basically what he did, he had a dog, and he rang a bell. The dog looked at him like, "What's up, bud?" Dog didn't do anything. Then Pavlov rang the bell, threw him a piece of meat, a steak or something. The dog ate that, and he continued to, every time he gave that dog a piece of meat, savory meat, he rang the bell, threw the meat. And through a period of time, the dog associated the bell with meat, savory meat that he was about to eat. And so it got to a point in this experiment where the dog started salivating. You know when dogs salivate, they slobber, they get the drool going, they get all that stuff happening, and that's what the dog started doing. Basically, that's the same thing that happens in gang stalking. When you're being targeted with a collar or vehicular harassment, once you get conditioned to whatever that stimulus is, regardless if you are being targeted from Thereafter, let's say your targeting window lasts 3 days. You get sensitized and you see one headlight in traffic. You see about 50 to 100 throughout the day for 2 or 3 days in a row. Let's say they stop doing that. Guess what? When you wake up in the morning, you crank on your car and you start driving, or maybe in the evening, you're driving home from work and you see 3 or 4 cars throughout 30 to 40 minutes with one headlight out. You go, that's them. That's them. They're doing it to me again. Guess what? No, siree, they're not. You've been conditioned to respond to one headlight. They stopped doing the one headlight days ago. But now you've got that memory, just like that dog has that memory, he starts salivating. There is no steak there. Once again, you see one headlight, maybe 3 or 4 throughout your hour-long trip home. But in your mind, it's them with the one headlight torturing you. Then you break out your video camera, and every time you see one headlight, what do? I'm being targeted. No siree, Bob, you're not being targeted. You've been conditioned. That's what has happened. So, if people could come off and explain things as targeted individuals in such a way that the general public can understand what we're talking about, I think we'd have more people paying attention to us. But we don't. We try to explain this program as something that is just so bizarre that nobody can latch onto it. And I know I would have a hard time doing that. Anyway, I'm going to describe what this guy is trying to explain. This is his wiki. It's on Remote Neural Monitor. This is the best that I could find. Best description. I found some patents that talk about RNM, but it really doesn't get into saying this is a patent for RNM. And the reason I only take this with a grain of salt is because this guy talks about aliens. He's got links that go to somewhere else, and this is talking about aliens. But basically, here's RNM. This technology employs satellite-delivered ELF, extra low frequencies, to communicate voice-to-skull transmissions for electronic harassment, terrorism, and mind control purposes. Now, before I go any further, I read some other descriptions throughout the internet, and it said that this program was basically created by the NSA to scan the brains of suspected criminals and terrorists to see if they've got criminal activity going on into the mind. That's what they're saying it was created for. This guy is saying it's created to harass people. Once again, you don't know. This produces delusional or schizophrenic related symptoms such as hearing voices. I totally disagree with that. I actually believe that if there's anything that can be done with this, aside from making somebody schizophrenic-like or crazy-like, you can actually do something called brain entrainment. I hope I got enough time to really complete this video because I want to get into that as well. Brain entrainment is basically sending a signal to one side of one hemisphere of your brain and a signal to the other. And they're both staggered. They're not at the same frequency. And brain entrainment can do anything and everything with the 4 different brainwaves you have. You've got alpha, beta, delta, and theta waves. I can't remember exactly what the alpha, the beta, and the theta and the delta does. I'm sure I have a description here somewhere, but write that down on your notepad and look it up. Because with brain entrainment, you can target those waves in your brain to create, to disrupt what's ever going on in your mind. Whether it's insomnia or nausea or a headache or anything else. If you have brain entrainment software or brain entrainment videos or brain entrainment MP3s, it can help. But I can't find that real quick. But anyway, we're going to get to that in a minute. Basically, he's saying this is this brain thing, this RNM. They send stuff into your head. They can basically see what you see, hear what you hear, the whole 9 yards. I don't know if I agree with everything. They map the brain. They can upload your brain from remotely. And I saw a patent about an invention that says the present invention relates to an apparatus and a method for monitoring brain waves, wherein all components of the apparatus employed are remote from the test subject. More specifically, high-frequency transmitters are operated to radiate electromagnetic energy of different frequencies. That's your brain entrainment, different frequencies, through antennas, which are capable of scanning the entire brain of the test subject or any desired region thereof. The signals of different frequencies penetrate the skull of the subject and impinge upon the brain, where they mix to yield an interference wave modulated by radiations from the brain's natural electrical activity. The modulated interference wave is retransmitted by the brain and received by antenna at a remote station, where it is demodulated and processed to provide a profile of the subject's brain waves. In addition to passively monitoring his brain waves, the subject's neurological processes may be affected by transmitting to his brain through a transmitter compensating signals. Once again, these are different signals. The latter signals can be derived from the received and processed brain waves. This basically talks about RNM. The objective of this invention. It is therefore an object of the invention to remotely monitor electrical activity in the entire brain or selected local regions thereof within a single measurement. Another object is the monitoring of a subject's brainwave activity through transmission and reception of electromagnetic waves. Once again, EMF waves. Still another object is to monitor brainwave activity from a position remote from the subject. That's without the test leads, the EEG cables. A further object is to provide a method and apparatus for affecting brainwave activity by transmitting electromagnetic signals to the brain. That's EMF. Once again, after reading all this, it sounds like RNF is you can do the brain entrainment, which you can set the brain into 4 different categories: alpha, beta, theta, or delta. Each one of these carries a different type of state of mind. I wish I knew them all by heart, but I really don't. I'm sorry I didn't really study all this, but I didn't study a lot of neuroscience and health science. Okay, I'm trying to find, oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm on a website now that's talking about brain entrainment. They're selling software. I wouldn't buy it. I'm going to get to some software that you can get off into that I've actually bought for $4.95 at Google Play Store. Okay, here's what these different waves in the brain can be entrained to do, and how you can use brain entrainment music called binaural beats therapy to shift whatever your mind's in. Let's say you're stressed out, you're worried, you're in a certain brainwave thing and you can't get out of it. Put some earbuds in, some headphones. You have to have headphones. You just can't listen to it, through your computer. And listen to it for about a good 15-20 minutes, and it will help you out. I have been trying this. Okay, here's what beta brain waves. They're 13 to 40 hertz. They're associated with worry, stress, paranoia, fear, irascibility, moodiness, anger, connected to weak health immune system, Fully awake and alert, nervousness, depression, anxiety. People spend most of their time in the beta state. Beta is not particularly bad, but if there are parts of the beta where you kind of skits out. Alpha brainwaves. Meditation begins. Mind chatter slows down in alpha. Great for learning and studying creative ideas. Reverse brain aging. Habits, fears, phobias melt away. Calm, peaceful. First layer of subconscious mind. Gateway to deeper mental states. Advanced focus. Relaxation begins. Serotonin. Endorphins. Good for anxiety, depression, stress, panic, mind power, happiness, and confidence. That's what you want. You want to be an alpha because that's good for you. Now the theta, this is almost sleep state. Deeper meditation, if you can get it, tap into the theta waves through brain entrainment. Near the stage of sleep, vivid, dreamlike imagery, creative visualization, feel more open and connected, advanced problem solving, super creativity, insight, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're going to get down to the last waveform of the brain. This is delta brain waves. Deepest meditation. Many science believe to be the most beneficial state. Associated with deep sleep, dreamless sleep, unconscious to the superconscious part of the mind. Best for our immune system, rejuvenation, renewal, blah, 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 blah. This is called, I don't know the name of this, Equisync. This is a brain software. Maybe it's great, I don't know. I surely don't know. But, let me see how much it costs. It doesn't. Oh, 29 bucks. 3 monthly payments of 29 bucks. No, sir. Doug's not doing that. I tell you what, I bought something on Google Play Store. It's called MindDroid. MindDroid. This is a really good binaural beats. It can get you off into any brainwave you want to get into those four. If you want to tap into any of those four, you can tap into it with this. I've tried it a lot of times with nausea. I try it a lot of times when I'm having problems sleeping. And it also comes, and I wish I could show it to you, but it's on my phone as an app. It also has a visualization component of it. And it will show, I don't know what, kind of like an oscillating light pattern. And if you use that with the, it's in my bedroom, what do you call those virtual reality things? I went and bought some the other day at Walmart, and I put them on and listened to the MindDroid binaural beats program. And every time I've done it, I seem to have positive effects from it. Things that I try to notice is I'll take like my blood pressure. Okay, people, basically what happened is that last video, at the end of it, at the 32-minute mark, I ran out of time. I watched the whole video so I'd know where to insert various images and whatnot to these different programs that I've been talking about. I ran out of time. I wanted to talk about the advanced spectrum analyzer and an EMF detector. The MindDroid program, which I was talking about, which I ran out of time on, that is basically a binaural beats program. You can buy it on Google Play, the Google App Store. You can download a free version of it and check it out. You'll need earbuds or headphones to check that out. But I strongly recommend, if you suspect V2K or remote neural monitoring or anything else like that, check it out. But even if you're not and you really want to delve off into like trying to get sleep, change your state of mind if you're in an anxiety state or you're just feeling crappy or whatever, you can download programs. Once you buy the MindDroid program for $4.95, you can download all the programs, put your earbuds on, and set it for 10 to 15, 20 minutes, and it does help. I do use it, but I'm not going to say with certainty that it's going to help you. Something else that I wanted to get to is the Advanced Spectrum Analyzer. This is something that you can download free from Google Play Store. Write this down, Advanced Spectrum Analyzer. What this does, it shows a graph kind of like EEG waves or EKG or anything. If you've ever seen like if you work in like an auto mechanic or something like that, an oscilloscope, it shows waveforms. Or if you're used to a digital audio workstation, audio programs on a computer, you know that there's spikes and whatever, there's waveforms. And what this does, it shows the waveforms that are present in your environment. Now, it shows them from a range something like 0 up to like 30 megahertz or 30 gigs. I don't know. I really can't remember. The only way that I can access that is by going to my phone, and I'm recording from my phone right now, so I can't show you that. But I will show you a snapshot from that on this video. And what you can do is look at the different frequencies that you can see happening. You can isolate those frequencies, and then you can take a snapshot and freeze frame them and go, I think that's the frequency I hear. Then you take that frequency that you think you hear, you go online to a tone frequency generator. You plug in whatever you think you're hearing. If it pops up 3.1 megahertz and you think you're hearing that, or that is a tone that is showing up on the graph on this Advanced Spectrum Analyzer, you do a snapshot and you freeze that, and then you go to your tone frequency generator. So I can go here. I've already demonstrated what a tone frequency generator does. Frequency generator. You go online to the tone frequency generator, and if you got that snapshot that says 2162 hertz, play it. If that's what showed up on that chart and you think you hear that, but maybe it's not it, you play it anyway. Do you hear that? No? Well, then go look, isolate another tone that is showing up on the Advanced Spectrum Analyzer, and just go from tone to tone to tone to tone and plug it in. You can plug each tone in. Just do online tone generator, and you will find a generator, and you can plug in any frequency. And I promise you, every frequency that you find on that spectrum analyzer, you can also hear it through the online tone generator. Like I said, the tone that I hear is 7.0 to 7.10 megahertz, and I played that in the last video. That is really great. I enjoy that, and it's pretty neat. The last thing I really wanted to talk about is an EMF detector. And on the Google Play Store or the Google App Store, that's what it's called, EMF detector. If you have good software on your phone, you got a recent phone, not one of these old, outdated phones that's got old software on it from 4 or 5 years ago, you're not going to be able to run this program. But you're not going to be able to run any of these programs except for the MindDroid, probably. But on the EMF detector, it will show you what EMF is happening in your home. I've used it with my computer. The closer I get to my computer, the higher the EMF frequencies go. The further away I get, the less it gets. If I take it into the country, I get away from my car, and I just hit the EMF detector, it'll give me a low reading. If I come back in town, it'll give me a high reading. If I put it close to my TV, it'll give me a high. If I put it close to my Wi-Fi, it'll give me a high. So it's a pretty good little tool to have, especially if you're toying with the idea that you think you're being bombarded by electromagnetic frequencies. I have not seen anything that even suggests that I am being bombarded by anything. With that said, that's going to be the end of this program. Please like, share, subscribe. Once again, That Gang Stalking Show podcast is coming up, and be sure to Be ready for that. That's the end of this program. Good night.